Hey guys, I have 3 types of watercolor ground and I'm going to show you all sorts of wonderful uses for this watercolor ground. It tells you on the side that it takes 24 to 48 hours to cure before you can go ahead and paint watercolor over it. But this watercolor ground allows you to paint on a whole range of surfaces. I've got glass, I've got paper. This is a thin paper from a book that's got a bit of ink on it. I've got some watercolor, I've got some sketchbook paper. I've got a watercolor painting, and I'm going to show you how you can correct a watercolor painting you're working on. You can paint it on wood and plastic. And so I use this flow bottle. I've got a really big spatula, but it actually recommends a brush, so do what you like. The other thing I thought I'd play with is to get some beautiful textures with a little piece of lace. So this was a white doily, and I've been painting in watercolor with it, and that's why it's these pretty colors. And then I thought, ooh, I bet it would make a fabulous kind of stencil. To start off with, I'm going to talk about these 3 colors. You can also get black. This is Daniel Smith Watercolor Ground Pearlescent White, so cool. This is the plain one, which is Daniel Smith Watercolor Ground Titanium White. There is another brand you can buy that makes watercolor ground. I think it's like golden or something, and I haven't tried it. So this one just works perfectly, and I just haven't bothered to try another one. This is Daniel Smith Transparent Watercolor Ground. So I thought, oh, I love that one the most. This one has separated a little bit. I think let's start with the basic one that most people are likely to buy, which is Titanium White. It's quite a big jar that you can buy this smaller type if you want, but as usual, you know, this is better value. I thought these might be lovely. That would be lovely with transparent. This will be lovely with transparent. So I'm going to put white watercolor ground in my sketchbook. So I'm just going to flick over to the next spot that I'm... Oh, actually, there's a bit I've missed. Some stuff I'm going to stick in. Get rid of that and just prepare this ground here. They've gotten so fat that they're having trouble staying open. I love using spatulas because they're really easy to clean. So I'm going to put on a thin layer. That's the other thing a spatula is beautiful for, is a thin, even layer. I'm not going to be careful. I'm not going to go to the edges. This is just the sketchbook that I do anything in. This is my do anything sketchbook. I just said that, I know. But it's the muckabout sketchbook, unlike the other books that I make, where I put a bit of thought into it. These ones are... Right, I can see why a brush would work well. This surface is quite uneven, and that's why it's struggling a bit. I'm struggling a bit just to quickly get a ground going. Okay, I'm going to switch to the brush and just smooth that out. That's worked really, really well. I could put more down here, but I just love the quickie idea. So on this, I'm not being careful. And you can, in fact, add multiple layers as well if you want to. And you could use it like gesso. You know how with gesso you put down a layer and then you sand it back and then you add another layer? You can do that with this as well if you want to build up and get a perfect layer, which is not me. Okay, I'm going to set that aside for 24 to 48 hours. Just move that. The next one I'm going to do, I might put this watercolor painting down underneath it. Oh no, I was going to do transparent ground on this one. The other thing I wanted to experiment with is this glossy book. And I'm about to, it's a beautiful cookbook that I never use anymore because I just do recipes online. I've glued together these 2 pages. These are all the pages I've removed, and I thought how lovely it might be to start off with a watercolor painting straight into the book. So I'm going to cover that kind of evenly, maybe evenly. I'm not going to bother going to the edges. I will pay homage to Maggie Beer being the author of the book. I often do that in the books that I take over and when I'm making a new book. Just in case you're wondering, get my brush out and I'm going to make it even. I hope you can see there that it's a little bit off screen too, isn't it? I hope you can see there that, oh, I'm going to have to go up the edge there. Okay, I'm going to put that round. I will be neat. I can see I need to. And you could so do 2 layers if you wanted to really obscure the background. It does recommend that the surface, such as plastic or glass, be abraded before you apply this. And again, because I like to do everything quickly, I've never bothered to do that. And I made vases years ago and they were just fabulous. And I put on 1 layer, really uneven, and just didn't worry. Now, what do I think about that? It's a bit hard to get it even on the edges. So again, if you're careful, if you're particular, you would do it twice. That's quite thick and lovely there. I wonder if I can spread that a little, but I'm just kind of dipping into it there. Right, so I've got a protective sheet underneath here. I'm going to move that out so it doesn't get on all the other pages. And I'm just going to, these are all the pages I've pulled out. It's one of the first steps when you're doing a book, when you're adjusting a book and turning it into an art book. One of the first things you do is remove some of the pages. I think that's pretty good for now. It probably does want a second layer, but I'm okay with that. Again, I'm going to put that for drying 24 to 48 hours. It needs to cure before you do anything to it. Next item is not this one. Oh, I know, I'm going to try this with the white. Because I wondered if it would work like one of those texture pastes. I went on a course recently and they wrote down texture paste on the list. So I went out and bought it. Is that working or is that just making a... Ooh, that's working. I'm going to use this thick, grungy stuff up the top here. Use it up. So I went on this course, bought the texture paste because it said so. And it was one of those times when at the end of the course, I'm like, yeah, damn, we didn't use texture paste and it was too late to say anything because we were packing up. But I do actually own some real texture paste. But I figured this would work like it. By the way, you can make your own watercolor ground. And that is worth Googling because, ooh, I wonder what that would look like if I put it onto that one, not that side. I think that's rather pretty. But this side is the side I wanted to adjust. I'm just going to get a rag and see if I can get some of that to transfer from the laced oily onto the painting. And if that looks fabulous, I'm trying really hard not to move the lace. I'm just playing here, just thinking stuff up. How's that look? I'm unsure about whether or not that looks fabulous or a bit lame. I'm going to let it dry, so I'll get another watercolor painting to adjust. So I did a video on these bright, lovely flowers the other day. And let's say you finish your painting and you're like, oh, wow, I really hate an element or something's really not good. I'm just going to get some more out. Let's say I think that this flower should be removed. Actually, I really like that one. Let's say this one should be removed. Yeah, let's say it's this one that you decide. So I'm going to put down some watercolor ground, just putting it down with the palette knife to get me going. And then you can paint. Again, you can see how some of the color is coming through. So you'd have to give it a few layers. Or it said on the side of the tin that you can water it down. I wonder if it would just look quite lovely if all I do is use the watercolor ground and make it behave a little like gouache. I'm going to get a touch of water and take it out past the edges there. Oh, it moves much better with a little bit of water. It's also picked up heaps of the watercolor paint. That was alizarin crimson, and it has instantly picked it up. So now this means I have to put some over here, tiny bit of water, and put it over there. It's funny when you start something, isn't it? And you think it might be a good idea, and then you realise you have to keep going. And now I feel like I have to keep going over here because it's all pinkish. I'm going to get some of that and just knock back a bit more over there. I went on another watercolour, another art course. Oh yeah, this one was watercolour. Anyway, one of his methods was to take white gouache and paint it around the edge of his paintings. And he loved that idea, so I'm going to do that. He loved the idea that you knock back the edges of your painting to create a focal point. Just wetting some of that there. Oh, spring has arrived today. It's really magnificent weather, but a little bit warm in my studio. I'm starting to heat up. Okay. So this one could be painted over in 24 to 48 hours. Okay, let's set that one aside as well to dry. I'm going to put the excess back in that one and get the lid straight on. So I thought these ones would be excellent with the transparent watercolour ground because you'll be able to see the wood grain. So first thing I'm going to do is clean off this palette knife because it will dry a lot like gesso and dry hard because it's kind of like white paint. So this is the transparent one. Very pleased it opened so beautifully. Little palette knife to give it a really good stir because there's a fair bit of separation down there. I have not used much of this at all, and I probably bought this jar 5 years ago, sitting in the cupboard, and it is absolutely perfect. So this is an excellent, and also all of the white one that I bought, and this one, the third one, which is the Pearlescent. I bought all of them like probably 5 years ago. Hard to remember, but you know. I was teaching at the time, running a class. Well, actually I was running heaps of classes. And playing with all sorts of things to do with watercolour. All right, I think that's pretty good. Put the excess onto there. And the excess onto there. I wonder if I have to do much more than that. I'm not sure that I've used the transparent much. I feel like I used it on something, but that just might have been transparent gesso, because you can get transparent gesso, and in the altered books, that's what I use a lot, is transparent gesso. And that means that I can draw all over the books. I'm just evening that out, because I'm guessing I won't be able to see it when it's dry. Oops, bit of runoff. Just wipe that off down there. So the other advantage to using transparent gesso is that I don't have to be particular about the edge, which you're probably getting the impression now that I like to be fast. And it's my art, and therefore you've got to do exactly as you please, because that's where the pleasure is. All right, lovely. It's very rough, but these were cheap little wooden boxes, and if I give them to the grandkids, they're not going to care. Having said that, I don't actually want them to get splinters, so I'm just going to fill that in. That's better. And then I will sand it, because I do hate the idea I give them a splinter. So I'm just going to fill in that little hole there. That's better. Okay, that's pretty good. All right, that's the transparent. So this is a big jar. It had some of that lovely cheese in it. So this is tacky just here, and I thought, well, that might make it the perfect spot to put some watercolor ground. Just wiping my fingers. This one doesn't seem to be separated, so I'll just give that a quick wipe anyway, because I've got no idea whether the ground cares about being mixed with other types of ground. These lids even come off beautifully too. Total amount of, lot of separation going on there. Again, however, the lid came off beautifully. It's just been sitting there. I'm pretty sure I used this. But I haven't been painting much in watercolor since I stopped teaching classes. And just gone totally in a different direction, which has been really, really good fun. Okay, I'm going to put it on this jar and then put it on my rack to dry. I'm just going to do one side like so. I'm trying to get an even cover. It's not even on the edges, but I don't care. I like the arty look. I like a torn edge too. Love a torn edge. Okay, that will do very nicely for that one. I'm going to leave it sitting on this angle. Just moving it out of the way. The other thing I thought I would do is this one, Nasal and Sinus Douche. It's a douche, but I want to cover up the flow and put something pretty on there instead, especially since I look at it every day. Just, I could be way more even than that. It's kind of hard to be even on a circular surface. It's not a circular surface, is it? It's a round surface. Anyway, you know what I mean. Okay, there's that one. And again, I'm going to set that one aside. Now, the other thing that I thought I would do is talk about how you can mix colour with it. So I've got here some red and green, and I've been doing so much drawing and painting with red and green lately. So I thought I might talk about how you can change the colour. So you could buy your own black, or you could add some black paint to the watercolour ground. You know how you can buy black watercolour? I rarely use it myself, but you end up owning a tube of black watercolour, don't you? Anyway, I love red and green. I love the complementary grey that I get when I mix them together. It's looking very green. That's because there's not enough red. I'm just going to mix some more. A lot more. I've used way too much, but these are these super cheap tubes of watercolour, so I'm not worried. And again, they've been sitting in my drawer, so I'm kind of pleased to use some stuff up. Use up your stash, definitely worth it. Price-wise, I think one of these jars cost me about $40. Of course, that's 40 Australian dollars. So it's not cheap, and that's why when I was enjoying using it, I thought I will look into making my own. And as soon as I looked into it, I'm like, okay, that's why I'm going to buy it, because it was quite labour intensive. I don't really remember the ingredients except for like kaolin. Does that sound like something you've all heard of? Anyway, there's a pretty nice grey. And then I'm going to get some of this. And can I pour it? Not really. I'm going to get this big one out. And I'll use up this stuff around the edge again. It's kind of drying, which is perfect to use up for an experiment. Okay. Oh, I kept it nice and clean. I did not want any colour in the watercolour ground. Okay, it's just totally green. It's not even slightly grey. The green is dominating that red. It might be a higher quality of pigment. Oh, there's a bit of the grey. There you go. Here you go, it's coming through. It is kind of grey. It's a green grey. Oh, it's lovely. Excellent. So what I thought I might do with these ones, is get some of the paper from the book. So when you're making an altered book, you pull out these pages, and then I draw on them, cut them up, glue them down, stuff like that. Oh, and I thought how fabulous it would be to have a little painting on a green-grey background. Well, actually, I was planning on grey. It's kind of a pretty grey now. I haven't mixed it completely and the red's popping through, but that's all right. And I'm just going to take it near to the edges, because I don't really know what size it will be at the end, because I draw on it and then I cut it and then I put it back in the book, and it changes a lot. Oh, that's just beautiful. That is excellent. And then I've got this beautiful surface ready. Well, in 24 to 48 hours, it's ready. So I'm just going to put that in there to paint on watercolour. It says 24 to 48 hours drying time. Way more time than that has passed since I began this project, and it's time to show you what you can do once you have finished. So this is the transparent ground on top of the little pieces of wood, and I thought how cute they would be for a little gift, so I'm going to put an initial on them. This is the double page spread in my sketchbook, and I even painted a little bit over the tape, so I'll be able to put watercolour on top of the washi tape as well. I was very messy and very fast, and you can do a much better job than me. I am in love with this because it has worked just like one of those thick pastes that you can buy for adding texture. And I've got all these lovely bits and pieces and paper. Oh, I'm going to get rid of that white on there. And I thought I should start with this painting, because I thought, I bet this is the sort that most people would be interested in, which is where I've added some of the watercolour ground on the outside so that I can correct it. I quite liked that the watercolour ground went on the outside to bring some of the focus towards the middle of this little cute, quick painting. I did a little video on that one if you're interested. And I'm going to, I'll just show you my palette. Got my palette going, and over here I have some alizarin crimson. I was trying to remember what I put in that spot, and I'm pretty sure that's what I used in this one. So I've just mixed up a little bit there, and then I'm going to use a brush and start by a little bit of putting a bit of water on it. So I'm just going to bring a bit of colour back to this one here, but mostly show you how easy it is, or not. Yep, really easy to paint over the dried watercolour ground. So I'm just going to put a little bit of water on it to take that off to nothing. So it was so easy just to put that lovely bit of red back into that petal. I'm not going to add detail over there. While I'm here and I've got this beautiful paint out, I am going to deepen some of these red petals because the painting really lacked a bit of focus, so can't resist doing that while this is on my palette. Just a little bit here and there, just to bring this part here to life. I'm going to just get some of the deeper. So there you go, a bit of bonus material. What you can do to a painting that isn't quite working is create a focal point, create one area to be more interesting than another. I think it also wants some of that beautiful yellow in this one here. Just again creating a focal point. Ooh, I wonder how beautiful it would be if I touched the yellow into here. Oh, love that wet and wet play. Anyway, I won't go further with that one. I just wanted to demonstrate how you can add colour to it. I'll just get rid of that one. Now, the beauty of transparent gesso, which is kind of what this is like, or in this case, transparent watercolour ground, the beauty of it is, on wood, is that the tone of the wood can come through. So I want to leave some of the wood coming through. So I thought, what a great opportunity to use some masking fluid. This is Heraldo de Pialo Artist Masking Fluid. I find there isn't much difference between masking fluid in different brands. Okay, I'm going to do one for a little darling whose name starts with E, and one for a little darling whose name starts with A. There. I'm just going to add more masking fluid because I don't know whether I should have added an extra layer to that, but that's going to be a wonderful experiment. I never put masking fluid into my watercolour water. Just get rid of that. Always in a separate jar of water, because I don't ever want little bits of suspended masking fluid. Yep, that's come straight off. And that's because I washed it almost immediately. I've got extra masking fluid there. I'll think about maybe think of something else a bit later. I'm going to do the sketchbook next because I imagine that's what you guys would probably be wanting to do the next most often, let's say. We had a blood moon the other day here in New South Wales. It's very tempting to just turn that into a landscape with the blood moon. Ooh. So you can see that a lot of the texture that I put in the background shows up just there. That's why I've zoomed in so you can see that. I'm just reapplying the grey. Ah, the blood moon the other day though was absolutely extraordinary and bright. We were out and looking at the stars, and the colour of the moon, and you know, it looks extra big because it is closer, I understand. Quite close to the earth. It was absolutely beautiful. Anyway, I'm just zooming in so you can see that the texture is still there. Having said that, I'll just move back to my stand where you can see my palette. That one. Oops, got a big drip there. Okay, right, time to abandon that idea. I'm just gonna go blue. I love blue. I'm going to, yeah, so to go back to my point I was about to make here, which is that you can smooth it out, the watercolor ground, if you want to. You just smooth it all out, and then you would have a lovely surface to paint on, but I'm not going to bother doing that. And if you've been watching me for a while, you'll know that I love to be quick, and so everything about this exercise has been quick. I much prefer to have completed something quickly than have it just lying around. Okay, a lot of pooling in there, which I'm just going to deal with a tissue. It's not painting very well over the tape at all. Not that it bothers me, it's just a note to yourself that if you wanted to continue painting over tape, you probably have to do a few layers. Or maybe it's because this is a little bit plasticky. Well, no, that can't be it because it says it paints on everything, including glass. Oh, I'm going to come to the glass and plastic in a moment. For now, I'm going to add more of that magnificent red back into this spot. See if I can get away with looking at the blood moon anyway. And it's very unbalanced, so I'm going to add a little bit of red down there. And that is the start of something rather lovely. Who knows what? I do have some... these are watercolor crayons, so I'm just going to get a color that's already in my painting, like this red to match the red, and see what that is like when you draw over. Yep, works really nicely. Down here is the plain paper, so that's what it would look like. But over on this lovely wetness, it's beautiful. All right. Okay, I'm just playing around now. I suspect this area here is because my wash of watercolor ground was not even. So, you know, that's all good stuff to know. I'm just going to re-emphasize that moon. Oh, so beautiful. Okay. Not an awesome start. That would definitely require 2 layers if you wanted to go ahead with that. Oh, the other thing I thought I would do, and I'm going to do it here, because this is a lovely little messy start, which I quite like. I wanted to see if I could put in some colour and create a shape there. I'm just getting some of this beautiful turquoise. Sometimes with watercolour, these sort of stenciling type exercises just go straight under the stencil. Yeah, that's right. That was not the surface to do it on. But how beautiful is that green? I'm going to put in a little bit more. Beautiful. And of course, red and green are complements, as in they're opposites on the colour wheel. So that's why that combination can often look so beautiful. The red and the green are like best friends that are opposites, and they just make each other look good, which is what a really great friend can do. Make you feel good or look good. These aren't quite dry, so I can't do anything else with them. This was the watercolor ground that I made. It's all right, I was just feeling something rough on the back, and it's me and my gesso. So this was watercolour ground plus some grey paint that I made up because I wanted to demonstrate that you don't need to buy more coloured grounds. You can use what is there. So colours on a dark background are not going to show up, but what will show up on a dark background, glitter paints. So I'm going to get my brush, wet some of that beautiful blue. So this is a page from a book I'm working on at the moment. Oh, I just realised the text. Right then, move that further out of my way so I can't make a mess. Is this text, and now it's up the right way, which I quite like. Let's put in a little sparkly sky, a little more water, spread it out, a little more water. There, I'm going to take it right to the edge in case I want later on to include some of the edge. And the sparkle just instantly shows up so beautifully. There's, these are cheap Kmart paints, watercolour paints. What's the word for it? Oh, metallic. Metallic watercolour. It happens to me all the time now. Some days my brain's just focused, and some days I can't remember words like metallic. Really frustrating. Apparently not a sign of Alzheimer's or other related brain diseases, even though it feels like it is. I'm going in for some of this green. These have actually lasted me such a long time. I've had really great use out of them. I do have a more expensive brand of metallic watercolours as well, and they do re-wet in a more consistent way. I mean, I really enjoy them. All right, here. Okay, I've got a little bit of a beginnings of a lovely landscape going there. Just some lovely soft, they kind of look a little bit pastel. I'm going back to the blue, which is a little wetter now, so I can put more blue in up the top. Okay, I don't know if you can see, but this is wrinkling madly. I'm going to put some blue into the purple. It's looking a bit stripy, so I'm just going to introduce some of the colours into other areas. All right, that is a nice start to something, I don't know what. But again, while it's lovely and wet, I'm going to enjoy putting in some more, just moving it over so you can see a little better there. So into there I'm going to, oh, I've got this beautiful green, so I might put a light green. I do have a dark green and a lighter green. Definitely going lighter so that you can see some marks. Okay, what it's doing is removing. It's not putting any of the colour down. Oh, it is over there on the paper. Put it there. But while it's in that beautiful wet state, I'm able to do some lifting, which is funny. I'm leaving a space there. It's very tempting to just put grassy marks all across the front, but I'm leaving space so that there's a way for you to, the viewer to come into my design. So it might go in like that, and I'll think about, just get rid of that top, think about putting something there. So again, I'm going to stick with this colour palette, and I've got these purples. And if I put something in there now, it's going to be lovely and wet, and I'm just going to lift off paint. So let's put in a mountain side like that. Oh, beautiful. It's not at all what I intended. I intended to put some colour on, but it doesn't matter. Make that mountain sit in front of that one. That goes there. And that goes there. And oh, that could be some more mountain there. And then I've got a little bit of a lake. I'll put a line there to remind me to only go that far. Another good start. It is wrinkling. It is not ideal. These are sort of solutions that get you around watercolour paper if you don't have any, if you wanted to paint on something else. But nothing ever matches the watercolour paper as far as I'm concerned. So this is the one where I was doing a bit of stenciling with this. I was using it like some of that fabulous textured paste that you can buy. So I was just putting that on there, but it's dried. I'll just hold it up so you can see. Look at the way it's dried. It's really beautiful. This is watercolor paper and this is watercolor ground on top that's just providing some beautiful texture. I'm going to come in with a beautiful blue. This is cerulean blue chromium. Very expensive pigment, and it's really quite beautiful because it's like cerulean blue, but it's like cerulean blue, but it's transparent. I'm not sure I will re-buy it once I've used up some of the, oh, I bet that's really hard on my brush. This is my super favorite one, and it was a silly price. So I think I'm going to switch to something much cheaper. Not that this is much cheaper. This is actually much cheaper, but this is the only one of those that doesn't, yeah, I'll have to go with this one because I've got a few of those. Right, drop in some beautiful alizarin. I'm just wetting it out there, which look at how beautifully it behaves on watercolor paper. It's quite funny because this is a video on watercolor ground and the things that you can cover, but really I just love watercolor paper. I don't think I've found anything, and I have played with all sorts of textured surfaces. Okay, that is so satisfying. The red over here is doing beautiful things. I think I'll dip into a bit more of that alizarin and make more of an impact. The cerulean blue chromium is not a pigment that has a wide range of tones. Unlike alizarin, that has a wonderful range of tones, and unlike this fabulous ultramarine blue, it's got a really wonderful wide range of tones. But the cerulean blue chromium is just beautiful as a sort of like a sky blue. Oh, look at that. Wow. Nothing matches watercolor paper. That texture was beautiful. So I've used it as texture paste, and that was pure fun. I've also used the texture paste on a book page. So I suspect this is going to wrinkle very quickly, but this is just such a beautiful playing opportunity. That's my beautiful brush. So I'm going to be super gentle there and get the... It's not a cheap brush, it's just cheaper. More of this blue chromium. That's a Daniel Smith colour. Look at the green in the background. Oh, I think I'll come in with some green. Oh no, this is turquoise. Oh wow. I think turquoise must be one of the most magnificent jewel colours. This is cobalt turquoise. No, this would be phthalo turquoise. Oh, I'm not going to stop and find the tube in the middle of this. I'm just enjoying placing the paint down. Oh, that's looking pretty fabulous. So far I haven't been painting anything specific at all, partly because I'm in a very playful mood, partly because I don't think these surfaces really lend themselves to painting a particular subject, so I'm just enjoying getting some paint down to see what happens. Excuse me. So there's a little bit of undulation happening, but it's not too bad. I think that using the watercolor ground as texture paste has kind of given that page a bit of a structure. Anyway, it's looking rather like a wheel, so I think I will enhance that magnificent pink in the middle. This is Permanent Rose on my palette over here. It sits right next to alizarin. Put that in, and then for some beautiful contrast right next to it, let's put some of the turquoise. And turquoise is a type of green. Permanent Rose is a type of red. I know it's pink, but you know, it's close. But so that's why I'm surrounding that beautiful red bit. That ink in the background there was done with, what are those inks called? Alcohol inks. Okay, I'm putting that one on my rack, and I'm going to put this one on my rack. I'm loving that one. That was pure fun, that one. Beautiful. Big drips over here, and I'm just going to keep it really horizontal so that as that dries, it's going to push back in, and I'm going to get all sorts of beautiful backgrounds down there. Okay, it's going on the rack as well. Now then, this is the same as the one you saw before. Some of the other things that I did was to put a light wash over the book page. Ideally, oh wow, isn't that beautiful? Yeah, it's just on that side there. I think I'm going to separate that out because that has the ground on it. I can feel the texture. It feels so much like gesso. And that one is just beautiful. I'm going to find a beautiful purpose for that in one of my books. But I think what I'll do is see what happens when I've created a wash of the beautiful transparent watercolor ground on this page to see how it behaves. Cool. Okay, some water, get rid of any hard edges. I went all over the whole sheet. Bit of water. That's lovely. Okay, so it seems to be holding the paint quite nicely where I've added the colour. Just, I think it wants some yellow. I'm not a fan of yellow. You'll see that I kind of avoid it. It just doesn't, I'm going to wash my brush each time because that's one of the few times that I do wash my brush with yellow so that I don't contaminate the yellow, because yellow is the lightest of all the colours, and so therefore it is so easily dominated by other colours. Oh, that's lovely. I'm doing dirty water, clean water. Oh, look at that. All right, that's just going to be so inspiring to put into one of my book pages again. Okay, that one can go on the rack. I might get rid of the excess onto here, and then I'm going to put it onto my drying rack. I'm actually running out of space now. Over here, here and up to there. got them all in there. What else have we got? We've got this one we've already done, so I've demonstrated one of those. These are just half book pages, so I did a whole stack of them because I'm in the middle of making lots of artist books. Oh, that's that one. Let's see what that does. So this is just a book page, and then I've collaged on with some black tissue paper. I love the black tissue paper because I got it for free. I bought a garment and they wrapped it in black tissue paper. It's so good because it's got no names all over it, and it means that I can use it without having words on it that I don't want. So what will go beautifully with the black? Oh, I know, this will. These are beautiful. Oh, look, I haven't used gold yet. I haven't washed my brush properly. I don't know if you can see that blue coming out there. Oh, look. Yeah. Gold. Anything metallic is going to show up beautifully on the black. There's also this pale, pale pink. What's that like? It's just soft. Incredibly soft. Look what's happening here on these cracks. Not cracks, wrinkles. That. Oh, does it do it down here? Yeah, it does. Wow, that I'm going to do again. Oh my, that's beautiful. Okay, I think I'll get more of that gold. I have gold paint as well. You can buy it in a tube, gold watercolor paint. Of course, you can buy gold paint in gold acrylic paint, gold, you know, gold acrylic, gold oil, gold markers, gold pens. Oh, I love it. I just love what it's doing. Just here, there's a bit of blue. I wonder if that was that blue doing that. I'll put that blue in. So the pink is so subtle. I'm just going to cover it. Put some more blue in because I can see it and I really like. Oh, the gold is just magnificent. Okay, that was a super exciting discovery. There's some brush marks. Oh, the brush marks are my watercolor ground. Okay, dump that one. Okay, that one is going on my rack. This is a whole shelf full of watercolor ground experiments. Okay, have we come to the end? Was there anything else I was going to paint? Was there anything you saw me cover that you wanted to see me paint over? Oh, are these dry? I'd love to get this done during this video. Just touching it to see if it's dry. Those bits are a little bit wet, which means it can get caught up in your brush. How's this? I'm just dabbing off the extra and then getting rid of it into my, I've got a little rag, that'll work better. Just touch, touch, touch to dry it. Oops, I didn't mean to remove it all. Okay, so as long as it's not coming off on your finger, then I assume it's not going to attach to my brush. Right. That's only going to take another minute to dry. So while that is drying, I need to go back to this one because I've got two of these. And this book was a cookery book, Maggie Beer. So I've been into turning all sorts of books into art books, as in an artist book. So it's a book that's been on my shelf for, I reckon, 20 years, and I just don't use recipe books anymore. So what I'm going to do this time is put in some lovely trees, and that will be just good fun to cover. Just putting in all trees, well, not all trees, we've got baobab trees in Australia, so baobab trees don't conform to what I'm about to say. Most trees are thick at the bottom, and then as they go up, they get thinner and thinner as they go towards the edge, as they go towards those beautiful little tiny bits and pieces. Little twiggy bits at the end are always thin. So I've made it nice and thick at the bottom, and then as you go up, it just gets thinner and thinner. And it's a pretty good rule of thumb that they start thick and get thinner and thinner. The reason I mentioned the baobab tree is because it's got this bulbous trunk. Very unusual. And I think they store water or something like that. It looks like it's going to dry quite quickly. What's interesting about this ground that is coloured is that my masking fluid appears to be going into the surface. I'm not sure this is going to come off in the same way that I'm expecting that to come off. So when I put these on the wood, the masking fluid really sat there very nicely, in the same way that I've seen it do a million times on watercolour paper. But this is kind of disappearing, which kind of suggests that maybe it's going into the texture of the watercolour page. Of the watercolour ground, I should say. This is not a watercolour page, of course. I'm just enjoying a bit of splatter there while I'm waiting for that. Oh, no, a little bit more. Okay, that is going to go on my drying rack, and again straight into a separate glass or cup of water. You can put a bit of detergent on your brush to help it release, but if you're fast and you put it straight into the water, you can get away with it. Okay, that's working nicely. I'm going to put that up there so I don't spill it again. I totally spilt it onto here, and that will eventually dry and just be this hard, yucky thing. Right, that one onto my rack. I'm running out of space there to go to the top shelf. Okay, nearly dry. No. If there was anything you saw me paint and I didn't keep it, then please let me know. I would quite like to make this design by putting it onto here, and then I wonder what would happen if I took a print, or I think I might leave that for another experiment another day. I don't think that's going to do what I want. Now, this one is not drying as quickly. That was really thickly applied up there, but this one is no longer coming off on my hand, so I can do this one. Now, get some of that magnificent turquoise and put some colour there and some colour there. Let's get some of that yellow. Dirty water, clean water. Clean brush for the yellow. Just put it on cleanly so I don't have to wash my brush as much. And then I'll blend. Oh, look at the yellow moving into the turquoise. It's magnificent. I'm trying to keep some of the yellow pure. And then what else shall we pop into there? Oh, that looks just amazing. I think I'll leave it. In fact, for this one, I'm going to do the exact same because it works so brilliantly. Though I did want to put in a little bit of red, but let's see. I'll do it there. That's so beautiful. And some of that beautiful alizarin there. A little more alizarin and then blend. And again, the red is powering, it's pushing into the beautiful turquoise. And up the top, I could put, no, I'm going to do the yellow again. That was beautiful. You put it on first, just reload, and then as I come down, touch the green. Touch the green. Dirty water, clean water, and finish off that edge there, there, there. Oof, I think it wants a little bit of yellow down here. There. Fabulous. Now, this one, I think it could do with a reapplication of one or the other. Because the yellow is dominating, it means that when I remove the masking fluid, let's assume that I can and it removes easily, when I remove it, there won't be a stark contrast. You need a contrast in order for the letter to pop out. So that means I need darker colour. So I'm going to reapply the turquoise around the letter and hopefully get a pop of colour where the initial is. And the same is going to apply to that one. The red will show up beautifully, and then I need some of the, yeah, turquoise. Again, it's so beautiful. It's a turquoise day. Bit more. The yellow is really surprising in its behaviour there. I'm going to redo the initial down there. It was an E, so there's an extra arm in there. Then I'm going to let them dry. For these two, I thought I would, I'm going to take a nice dark colour, dark purple. I would do, I'm going to do, oh, I know, I might do one for my sister. These are watercolour crayons. So really easy to write on. And in comparison, let's see if, oh look, you can actually write straight onto the glass with these. Hope I'm not just making myself redundant here. But what happens when you wet it is that it's gone. What I'm hoping happens on this one, when I wet it, maybe get some, ooh, I know, I'll get some yellow. Dirty water, clean water. I'm going to go in for this other yellow. So that is lemon yellow, and the main yellow, see how there's a triangular bit there in the palette, and that's for the primaries. So this is Hansa Yellow Light. Now, what happens if I paint around? I just want to gently wet the J of the crayon. Just want it to blend ever so gently. Anyway, you can see that that's going on beautifully onto the glass. That's cool. And maybe then I'll shift to the lemon and do the lemon on this side. I just want to touch the crayon so that it melts just that little bit. And then I'll transition into alizarin. Oh, I'm going to tip it that way and make the red run into the yellow. That's beautiful. Now let's add some blue to the mix. Over here, I'll just go for my classic ultramarine, I think. Blue, it just paints on like an absolute breeze. That's a really thick layer of which watercolor ground was that one? This one. The Pearlescent White. That's just so beautiful. And it was quite thickly applied. So if you do an experiment and you find it doesn't paint on well, it could be that you need to add another layer. It could be, just putting the red in there. There. Okay. I want that to be on that side. There. Run. That's cool. I'll just paint up here to see the comparison of what would happen. Yes, it's just balling up. So not even slightly the same. And then if you add some of that fabulous alizarin, it mixes beautifully, but it's just all running away. So I think that the Pearlescent watercolor ground is working brilliantly just here. I'm going to come in even closer. I think when it's dry, I'll just rewrite the word Jen. Okay, set that one aside. And this is just a plastic bottle. It's one of those nasal bottle things, and I hated looking at the brand name, and I use it all the time for painting and squirting a whole stack of water. So let's go to the classic. Oh, I know what I haven't used. I haven't used any burnt sienna. That's not burnt sienna, by the way. I think that's quinacridone gold. Right, there it is going on easily. And in comparison, over there, actually it paints on okay, but it's harder to see. So, you know, it's just all a lovely experiment. This is burnt sienna. It's not looking much different up there, which is interesting. I think the ground is so white that you can't see much difference between quinacridone gold and burnt sienna. So let's go in for a much deeper colour. This is ultramarine blue. Such a staple of many palettes, and especially in mine. Okay, into that, what shall we drop? No more turquoise, that's enough. Yellow. Okay, here's the Hansa Yellow Light. It's more viscous, it's less transparent than the other. Oh, beautiful. Of course, the surface is convex. Apologies there. And I forgot to wash my brush. And because it's convex, it's running and very quickly. And it's more convex than the glass was. Can you say that mathematically? More convex? Don't know. Right, done a little dog's breakfast there. I think to finish, that's a really hard surface to paint on anyways. I think to finish, what I want to know is how this is going to behave. So I'm going to use my heat gun only on one because it's risky using a heat gun. I'll keep that one because that's more successful. Using a heat gun on masking fluid is not great. Now that's actually taking too long because it was the second one. Alright, let's see if we can speed it up. On the side it's drying beautifully. Watercolour is so pretty whilst it's wet because it gives that reflective surface. It's bouncing back all the light, and that's why it dries darker, because it's not bouncing back all that beautiful light that the water causes. Now, if you really prefer the look of the reflective light, then what you can do is glaze it. So this is a hard surface, so you could glaze it with anything you wanted. Anything you wanted. But if you wanted to keep it completely in the watercolour zone, then what you would do is glaze it in something like gum arabic, which is the watercolour binder. So you're painting with gum arabic all the time anyway. I'm just going to give that a second to cool down. I think that one's pretty good. Yeah, I really like that one. And I quite like the drips. That's lovely, that one. So I'm going to put that on my drying rack as well. That will have to stay out. Go there, that's good. This one is so crappy, I'd like to just throw it out now. I made it worse, not better. But that's the risk that you take every time you experiment. Okay, how's it going? So over here, there's some sort of bubbling that has gone on. And it's not going to be the watercolour paint that's made it bubble. And there was no masking fluid there, so that means it's just the... it must be the watercolour ground. Anyway, how's it going? All right, let's see if we can get it off. Yeah! It's a bit hot. Ow. Oh, lovely. I might rub it with a rag. I do have a remover, but when it's all wet and gungy like that, all it does is pick up all the gunginess, and then you have to try and get it off your watercolour remover. It definitely removed beautifully there. Here, it's still quite wet, so I'm not going to touch it, but I did want to show you that that is going to look really, really cute. I'm going to let the rest of it just dry, air dry, and then I'll be able to remove it and have a cute little box. So I think that was very successful. Going back to the sketchbook, it's just, you know, mega, oh, look, this is my sketchbook, so I keep ephemera, and I make notes, and I do doodles, and I really enjoy putting stuff in there. Sometimes it's ephemera that reminds me of a holiday, a good time, that kind of stuff. Sometimes there's a little quote. So this is a quote: "No matter how many miles divide us, I am at peace knowing my roads will eventually meet yours as long as I keep driving." It's a quote by Jessica Katoff. Not that I know who she is, but it doesn't matter. And these are envelopes, and then inside there I've got little things that have meaning for, you know, a trip we went on, places we visited. Same with that one there. Yeah, so that's my grandson, and that's a big M. I was playing with that there as well. And more cards from my daughter, because she gives me the best cards. This one's hilarious. I love how we don't have to say out loud that I'm the golden child. She's so funny. And she is like that. She is fabulous to me. Right. That is beautifully dry. If you're still hanging around, let's have a little look and see if we can add some more colour in the foreground here. Let's put in some blue. I'm just putting in a really basic kind of tree shape there. Paint over the tape again. And then this can come down, have a little reflection. Down, down, a little reflection down there. Yep, so second layer totally works, that's cool. The blood moon, I'm not going to touch that, I love it. This texture is, I'd have to completely start again, and as you know, I don't want to. And when you're painting and being creative, pleasing yourself is incredibly important, because that's why you're doing it. Make sure that you just do what you want and not what anyone else thinks you should do. I think that's a little better. It's a little bit balanced. It's a bit odd there, but hey, it was a great experiment in using watercolor ground. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you made it through to the end of this video, then that is absolutely wonderful. I completely appreciate it. See you next time, guys. Bye. Hey guys, I have 3 types of watercolor ground, and I'm going to show you all sorts of wonderful uses for this watercolor ground. It tells you on the side that it takes 24 to 48 hours to cure before you can go ahead and paint watercolor over it. But this watercolor ground allows you to paint on a whole range of surfaces. I've got glass, I've got paper. This is thin paper from a book that's got a bit of ink on it. I've got some watercolor, I've got some sketchbook paper. I've got a watercolor painting, and I'm going to show you how you can correct a watercolor painting you're working on. You can paint it on wood and plastic. And so I use this flow bottle. I've got a really big spatula, but it actually recommends a brush, so do what you like. The other thing I thought I'd play with is to get some beautiful textures with a little piece of lace. So this was a white doily, and I've been painting in watercolor with it, and that's why it's these pretty colors. And then I thought, ooh, I bet it would make a fabulous kind of stencil.